In 1969, the United States and the Soviet Union were locked in a highly publicized battle for the stars. Every rocket launch was a literal test of national supremacy. But thousands of miles away from Cape Kennedy, inside a quiet workshop in Suwa, Japan, a different kind of race was unfolding. A team of engineers at Seiko were attempting to build a self-winding stopwatch, an automatic chronograph. If they succeeded, they would beat the Swiss watchmaking industry to a goal that had eluded them for decades. Success meant being the first to mass-produce the most complex mechanical movement ever attempted, resetting the standard for the entire industry. To understand why this was so difficult, you have to look at how a watch actually works. A chronograph is a timepiece equipped with an independent built-in stopwatch function. For over half a century, these watches required the wearer to manually wind a mainspring. The movement needed a constant human touch to keep the stopwatch running. This layout shows the problem. Stopwatch gears are incredibly dense, occupying nearly every available millimeter. A self-winding system needs a large rotor to spin freely. In a standard chronograph, the rotor and gears must occupy the same space. They collide, making the combination impossible. The mechanical bottleneck was so significant that the Swiss industry leaders, including Heuer and Breitling, had to form a massive consortium just to find a solution. This was the ultimate proving ground. The company that solved this architectural conflict would define the future of mechanical timekeeping. On March 3, 1969, the Swiss consortium announced they had done it. They unveiled the Caliber 11 to massive global press coverage. But there was a detail the press missed. Seiko had already reached the finish line. The Seiko 6139 was already sitting on Japanese store shelves, available for anyone to buy. The exterior design was built for utility. It featured a single register at 6 o'clock on a crown positioned at 4 o'clock, a signature Seiko layout that kept the metal from digging into the wearer's wrist during movement. Inside was the Caliber 6139. Seiko designed it entirely in-house, without using any external blueprints or Swiss partnerships. This schematic shows the heart of the innovation, an integrated column wheel. This specialized part allowed the stopwatch to engage and disengage while leaving enough clearance for the automatic rotor to spin. Seiko's quiet release proved that a single company could out-engineer the combined resources of the entire Swiss establishment. In 1973, NASA astronaut Colonel William Pogue took that Japanese engineering into orbit. Pogue brought his personal yellow-dial Seiko 6139 aboard Skylab 4. He preferred the Seiko for his own timing needs, wearing it alongside his official NASA-issued watch. The watch spent 84 days in a vacuum, completing over 1,200 orbits around the Earth, enduring zero gravity and extreme temperature shifts. Today, collectors call this yellow dial variant the Pogue. It has become a landmark reference for those who value the 6139's history. By the mission's end, the 6139 proved it could handle conditions that would compromise most terrestrial instruments, a definitive demonstration of mechanical durability. If Seiko was the first to market and the first in space, why did the Swiss receive all the credit for the invention? It came down to a difference in communication. The Swiss utilized a massive Western marketing machine to frame their launch as a historic event. Seiko simply shipped their watches to stores and let the technology speak for itself. In the history of watchmaking, being first to reach the customer is the only objective measure of success. By that metric, Seiko holds the record. Despite its pedigree, the 6139 remains accessible. A Swiss equivalent might be a museum piece, but a genuine 6139 costs under $1,500. If you want to see more stories about the hidden history of watchmaking, subscribe to the channel. The Seiko 6139 is evidence that world-changing technology doesn't always need a press release. It just needs to work.